on the subject of the Dems, Bernie, the Medicare prices and the prescription drugs, he went on the Flagrant podcast recently with our pal Andrew Schulz, and they had a really interesting discussion. Here's a bit where he's talking about the problem within the Democrat Party. It's SOT 19.
The problem I think a lot of voters had is like they didn't even know if it was her. We didn't even know if Biden was president. We didn't even know if these were her talking points. And we felt that over the last 4 elections, Democrats, we felt that we didn't have a say on who could be president. We talk a lot about the Republicans being autocrats and oligarchs and taking over democracy. But from the Democrat perspective, and I'm a lifelong Democrat, I felt like the Democratic Party completely removed the democratic process from its constituents. And I think they need to have some accountability of that.
No argument here.
But then could we not also say if ostensibly there hasn't been a fair primary for the Democrats since 2008, are they not also a threat to democracy? Yes. We often hear.
Fair enough. That is, yeah, I'm not going to argue with that point.
I love the way he talks. The accent is just so great to listen to. He's not wrong, right? I mean, he of all people has standing to say that because it happened to him twice.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, Bernie's back. And what I mean by that is he's realized that you can't really play nice with the Democratic establishment and expect to get your policy priorities passed, expect them to help you out in whatever your agenda might be. And, 2015, 2016 Bernie, when he was running in the 2016 race, was a little different from 2020 Bernie. And what I mean by that is as soon as the Democratic establishment saw an economic populist like Bernie Sanders gain the kind of momentum he did, they cynically used identity politics to crush him. Yes. Oh, you're not addressing BLM. I mean, I remember during one of his campaign rallies, 2 people from BLM just jumped on stage, interrupted the entire event, called him out for allegedly not caring about Black bodies or Black lives. And it was just utter ridiculous, cynical use of identity politics to crush someone. And in the end, I mean, what did the party get? In the end, Trump got elected in 2016, of course. Then in 2020, you have Joe Biden, who was able to run from his basement because of COVID. But the only reason why I think Biden won in that election or in that race is because of the fact that, many Americans didn't like the way Trump handled the coronavirus. So I think by the time you get to 2024, people were just done with Democrats because they're sick. Honestly, people are sick of the identity politics. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't fight for a just cause. If you see instances of discrimination, obviously something should be done about it. But it wasn't really about doing something about discrimination or doing something about our broken law enforcement system or anything like that. It was used cynically to crush economic populists within the Democratic Party. But now what I'm noticing with Bernie and AOC, by the way, is they've kind of shed a lot of that rhetoric because
she took down her pronouns.
She did, exactly. And I mean, look, if AOC is willing to self-reflect and realize, okay, I was pushing for things that most Americans, including Democrats, weren't into, and I need to go back to the bread and butter issues, great. I think that's a good way to kind of move forward for Democrats. But I mean, she needs a long runway to kind of rebrand herself as an economic populist, similar to who Bernie Sanders is.
Here he is speaking to some of these issues that you just outlined. Here's SOT 20.
We have a question we want to ask about what happened to you in 2016 with this Bernie Bros movement, where your followers are seeing they have a racism problem, a misogyny problem. Do you think that's a super PAC thing behind that?
That was the Democratic establishment. That was the.
Wow. Okay.
That was just, they were sitting there. We had a lot of young people. We had people of color and they create this kind of myth with the help of the corporate media and all that stuff.
It's kind of interesting to that note is during this election, the podcast space, which the Democrats largely avoided, they feel had some influence in the election. And they started to label us the podcast bros and said that we were sexist and we were racist and bigoted. It's almost like it's the exact same strategy to get you out of there.
Yeah, that's what the liberal elite China does.
And then I'll give you one more because he followed up on no one wants to keep doing this identity politics thing anymore in Stop 21.
And then you get to what we call identity politics.
Yeah.
That you're black, you're wonderful, you're tremendous, you're gay, you're the greatest human being on earth.
Yeah.
And rather than say, what do you stand for?
Exactly.
You're gay, that's fine, who cares?
Yeah.
But what do you stand for?
Yeah.
Is every gay person brilliant and wonderful and great? No, of course not. Everybody's a human being.
Yeah.
So the issue is what you stand for, which gets you back to what we discussed earlier, class politics, in the sense of which side are you on? Are you going to stand with working families? Are you going to raise the minimum wage to a living wage or not? Are you going to fight to guarantee health care to all people or not? Are you going to demand that the wealthiest people start paying their fair share of taxes or not? Those are the issues. And no one cares what color you are, what your gender is, et cetera, et cetera.
Go ahead, Anna.
No, well said. Well said. That's the Bernie Sanders that I supported in 2015 and 2016. I also voted for him in the primaries in 2020. But by then, he had allowed the Democratic establishment to essentially tinker with his campaign. So he was kind of paying lip service to the culture warriors who really, in my opinion, don't really give a damn about the causes that they allegedly fight for. They're more interested in having an excuse to go around scolding people and destroying campaigns of politicians that actually want to be public servants, who actually care about working class families in this country. And that was absolutely disgusting that happened to Bernie in 2016 and to some extent in 2020 as well. But what you heard from Bernie right there, in my opinion, is a winning brand of politics. Americans want to be left alone when it comes to their personal lives, okay? They don't want to be judged because they're living in a traditional conservative household. They don't want to be judged if they happen to be gay and want to marry a partner of the same sex. They just want the government out of their personal lives entirely. But there is a role for the government. The role for the government is to protect the American people, not only from criminals, not only from foreign threats, but also from corporate greed. And that was the message of Bernie Sanders' campaigns, and the corporate Democrats loathed him. And so they used identity politics cynically to destroy his campaigns, his possibilities of winning.
Why did they loathe him? But why?
You should ask their corporate donors. You should ask Third Way. Third Way, a think tank that essentially helps to aid and abet the neoliberalism brain rot that has infected the Democratic Party.
They're big and their build is more moderate. That's what you always hear about Third Way. They're the more moderate Democrats.
They're just pro-corporate. They're just pro-corporate.
Mm-hmm. And it happens on both sides. This July, there is a global summit of BRICS nations in Rio de Janeiro. The bloc of emerging superpowers, including China, Russia, India, and Iran, are meeting with the goal of displacing the U.S. dollar as the global currency. They're calling this the Rio Reset. As BRICS nations push forward with their plans, some worry global demand for U.S. dollars will decrease, bringing down the value of the dollars in your savings. While this transition, if it happens, would not happen overnight, the Rio Reset could mark a pivotal moment. So learn if diversifying your savings into gold is right for you. Birch Gold Group can help you move your hard-earned savings into a tax-sheltered IRA in precious metals. Claim your free info kit on gold by texting MK to the number 989898. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, let Birch Gold arm you with a free, no-obligation info kit on owning gold before July and the Rio Reset. Text MK to the number 989898 today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.